Henry, return your previous frequency, please.
So I am a fast talker sometimes, so if I start talking too fast, please just say something and I'll slow back down. Okay, so like I was introduced, I'm Sergeant Hart. I'm going to be giving the RAF Lakenheath, RAF Mildenhall mid-air collision avoidance brief. So again, I'm an air traffic controller, and that's the standpoint that I'm going to be taking from. So I don't have a lot of the data for if there's been any recent near misses or anything like that. So I won't be able to speak to that. But if you do have questions about that, you can just direct them to Mr. Tills and he can email me, and then I can get the data for you. So today we're going to be talking about aircraft that we have, our airspace, RAF Lakenheath RAPCON, general information, upcoming changes we're going to be having, and then any questions. Okay, so first for RAF Lakenheath's aircraft, we have 3 flying squadrons of F-15s. We have the F-15C and the F-15 Echo model. The wingspan is 42 feet, 10 inches, length 63 feet, 9 inches. And then we have the speeds here. Initial approach speed is 300 knots, pre-landing 250 knots. Final approach 130 to 180 knots, and touchdown is 120 to 150 knots. Standard ops, they're going to be general handling in East Anglia Class G airspace, which I'll be pointing out, and they'll be doing practice approaches, both instrument and visual, into both RAF Lakenheath and RAF Mildenhall. I have some pictures that our PA took, as well as some from the bird watchers. So at RAF Mildenhall, they have 3 flying squadrons as well. They have KC-135s. Their wingspan is 130 feet. 10 inches, length 136 feet, 3 inches. Speeds, they're en route. Descent is 285 knots, pre-landing 190 to 250 knots, and final approach is 130 to 170 knots. The big thing with KC-135s, they cause wake turbulence, so you want to stay clear of those, just like any other aircraft, right? And then C-130s, their wingspan 132 feet, 7 inches, length 97 feet, 9 inches, and their speeds approach 100 to 150 knots. Departure is 180 knots, and their cruising speed is 220 to 240 knots. Finally, they have the CB-22s. The wingspan is 83 feet, 10 inches, length 57 feet, 4 inches, and their cruising speed is 200 knots. For Mildenhall aircraft, their standard ops around this area are practice approaches into RAF Mildenhall. Okay, we got a C-130, KC-135, CB-22, KC-135, and another CB-22. Okay, so this is what our approach controllers see. So this is our radar depiction feed. It's a really clear image too. We can pull it right straight from the computer. But when I'm talking about the combined military aerodrome traffic zone, the CMATZ, we're only talking about this tiny little portion right here. So this portion highlighted in purple is the CMATZ. And then when we're talking about the ATZs, the aerodrome traffic zones, we're talking about those two. The one to the north is Lakenheath's, and the one to the south right here is Mildenhall's. Okay, so again, this is what our radar approach controllers see. So for standard operating procedures in our area, so this light green area right here is RAF Lakenheath's ATZ. It goes from 2.5 nautical miles and surface to 2,000. Right over here, we have RAF Mildenhall's. Theirs is, again, 2.5 nautical miles from the center line, and then up to 2,000 feet as well. And a lot of the ops, so the ops in RAF Lakenheath, 1,500 feet is where our F-15s are usually at. So 1,500 feet and below when they're coming down for an approach. For Mildenhall, theirs is going to be at or below 1,800 feet. Okay, so when they're coming in and during their practice approaches, for RAF Lakenheath, they're anywhere from 2,000 feet to 3,500 feet. And then this kind of X right here for Mildenhall, they're at or below 1,800 feet as well, coming in. Okay, so this is depicting our radar pattern. In the radar pattern, their standard altitude is 3,000 feet. And when they're coming in for their approach, right around this area, they'll be at about 6,000 feet and descending. And when they hit about right here, they'll be 1,300 feet. And then obviously they're going to be hitting the runway when they get to the the ATZ. Right over here, they're going to be at about 2,600 feet. And they're going to be descending down to 1,600 feet over here. And then again, touchdown. Same thing over here. They're going to be at 26, coming down to 16, and then touchdown. And then over here, they're going to be a lot higher, usually around flight level 100, and descending down to 19, and then lower again. Up here, we have our general handling area. For the most part, this is where aircraft are going to be general handling. Most of the time, they're between flight level 50 and flight level 190, and just talking to approach. Okay, and so this is the pass that I was given by Mr. Tills of a lot of the glider operations. So as you can see, it definitely gets into some of our areas where our aircraft are lower, especially because I was told that y'all usually operate between 2,500 and 5,000, depending on the cloud layers. So places to watch out for is obviously our instrument approach corridors. So these areas right here, and then obviously anytime that you're over the CMATZ. We do have aircraft that sometimes come in over here. They come in between 5,000 and 8,000 feet, and then they descend down to pattern altitude of 1,800 feet, and then enter our ATZ. Okay, so for RAF Lakenheath RAPCon standard stuff, so we provide air traffic services 60 nautical mile radius from Lakenheath surface to flight level 195. We provide services 24/7. All airfield and RAPCon closures will be published via NOTAMs. It'll either be in Lakenheath's, which is Echo Golf Uniform Lima, or Mildenhall's Echo Golf Uniform November. So please note that in that large area that I depicted, there could be 13 different air traffic control facilities working aircraft in that area. It's uncontrolled Class G airspace. The different air traffic services are Lakenheath Approach, Lakenheath Tower, Mildenhall Tower, RAF Marham, London Military Swanwick, RAF Waddington, Cambridge, Essex Radar, Wattisham, Norwich, and Coningsby. So again, we're not always talking to the aircraft that might be in your vicinity. It could be any one of these other air traffic service facilities. And this is a picture of our radar. So right here, we have our approach controller with their assist. And then over here, we have our arrival controller. Okay, so for general information, we do not monitor FLARM. Our watch soups just don't have the ability to focus on that when they're also watching what's going on with our air traffic controllers up in the front. We do, however, monitor ADS-B. So if you are capable of squawking, please squawk. We will issue traffic to our guys at a minima if we see pop-up targets. So anytime a target pops up, we always click on it to see if we can get an altitude read. If we can't, we still give the traffic as a pop-up target, just unknown altitude. If you plan on operating in the vicinity of the CMATZ, please call us. You can call Lakenheath RAPCon at 128.9. And then just let us know where you're operating. So include landmarks or cities, and then let us know what altitude blocks you plan on just operating around. So for gliders, you'd be getting basic service from us, which is an air traffic service provided for the purpose of giving advice information that's useful for safe and efficient conduct of flights. This includes weather information and then general airspace activities. So we might not always give you specific traffic while you're operating in the area if you've called us, but we will let you know, okay, so we have multiple aircraft conducting practice approaches in the vicinity of Mildenhall or something like that, and we give you the altitude blocks that they're operating in. So again, we're just trying to give you traffic between you and then our guys, just to make sure everyone's safe and aware of what's going on. Please keep in mind the airspace is very congested, and then again, we're not always talking to the aircraft that's in your vicinity. So for upcoming changes for us, we are having a 4th squadron arriving at RAF Lakenheath. We're going to be getting F-35s. They're actually coming this upcoming week. So their wingspan is 35 feet, length 51 feet. Their speeds, initial approach speed is 300 knots, pre-landing 250, final approach 140 to 150, and then their touchdown is 120 to 135. So they definitely slow down as they're coming in. So there's going to be a lot of increased flying within our area. And it also introduces a new pattern, because I know obviously one of the patterns that was shown up, it did go over our CMATZ. So the new pattern is the precautionary flame out procedure. Because F-35s are a single engine, they have to have a precautionary emergency landing to try to get like a fire out for their engine. So this is the airspace that they'll be utilizing for this pattern. It goes from surface to flight level 120, and it's a rapid climb and descent. So they'll come in, they'll hit this point, and then they'll circle down. And again, it's a very rapid descent from this. So that they could be as high as flight level 120, and then they're just dropping down to just below above the runway. Sorry. And then they also have their flame out straight in. They'll be dropping from 10,000 at either one of these points, and then just dropping all the way down to the runway. And then again, this is some of the path that we saw. So if you're operating in this vicinity, there could potentially be aircraft dropping through the altitude that you're operating at. So this is it's another really important time to be calling us, because we can let you know if any aircraft are doing any PFO procedures. Okay, so that's all the basic information that I have from us. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much for that. That's really really helpful. We have got a few questions. So if anyone's got any questions, if you could send them through to Andreas on the chat. And perhaps Bridget, would you mind taking down the screen share?
Yeah, absolutely.
Super. So I've got a few questions, maybe just to get the ball rolling, if that's okay. So one of the questions is, do you exchange traffic information with the Cambridge airfield? How does the relationship work with Cambridge?
So anytime they have an approach coming in, they do coordinate with us, because a lot of the time, especially if they go all the way out onto their approach, they do have to call us for CMATZ because they're operating within our CMATZ. So they just call us, give us a traffic advisory just so we know what their aircraft are doing. But for any aircraft that are operating like near Cambridge, no, we don't get any information on that. We only get them when they're gonna come near the CMATZ.
Okay, that's interesting. So if Cambridge are giving a basic service or a traffic service to somebody passing through, you wouldn't know that?
No, only if they're gonna come near the CMATZ. That's the only time they'll ever call us. Or if we have traffic that's identified on our scope that's anywhere near them, because we have specific squawks that we use. So each facility has different squawks, so they could see that it's a Lakenheath squawk, and if it's near their traffic, they'll call us and ask us for information about it.
Okay, no, that's really helpful. Do you have any liaison arrangements with any other gliding clubs?
Not that I know of. So this is my first time ever doing it. It's usually falling under flight safety. So again, they ask for an air traffic controller to do it because I can explain the airspace a little bit better. So I'm not sure. That'd be a question for flight safety that I can ask.
Okay, yeah, no, that would be good if you wouldn't mind.
Absolutely.
And in terms of, we've got some questions coming in. So around visibility. So can you see gliders on the radar, even if they haven't got any ADS-B or if they're not squawking because they haven't got a transponder? Because there's a problem with a lot of gliders, is that we don't have a power source, we have a battery, and transponders consume a lot of energy, so we tend not to have transponders. So can you see them on the radar?
So no, most of the time we can't. I will say that sometimes the radar might pick you up, just because like it could pick up a large flock of birds. It's just like kind of like the information bounces off of it. So sometimes we do pick up things like that, but we wouldn't know that it's a glider unless you had called us and told us your position. And usually those drop off pretty quickly.
So the other thing about that, related to that, is gliders fly quite slowly relative to other aircraft. So if your radar is set to filter out things like birds which are maybe moving quite slowly, it wouldn't necessarily pick us up. And typically we would be flying between 45 knots, maybe 70 knots, that sort of speed.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we usually don't. So we don't have a set like a speed filter or anything like that. So yeah, we have helicopters sometimes come through. I think they're a little bit faster than you, obviously, but they are pretty slow. They can go as slow as I've seen 60 knots.
Right. Okay. And you know, from a flight safety point of view in your area there, what do you think are the most concerning airspace pinch points around the CMATZ?
So here,
navigation.
I'm going to screen share again, just to point it out easier.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so a lot of the areas that we usually see conflicts, honestly, a lot of our guys are operating up here, so the general handling, but again, they're usually higher than most pop-up traffic, but it's usually right at our approach courses is where the most traffic, because that's where we're trying from, they're coming up from up here usually, and we're trying to descend them down to intercept our glide slope. And so that's where usually our lower aircraft are at that are causing kind of like a conflict with us, because we can't descend them to an altitude that they're going to then descend through your altitude. So
that's the area east of Marham then, is it?
yeah, so this one right here is Marham. This MATZ right here.
So you're saying a particular area of concern is the area to the east of Marham?
Yes, yeah, right here for our path. Mhm.
Southeast.
Okay, that's helpful. Is there any other questions
Yeah,
on
just
that?
there is.
Just while we're looking at that, can you see? We've got a question here. Somebody's saying they've got a transponder with the ADSB out, but a non-certified GPS feed. Do you? I think you've already said that you can see the ADSB signal. Yeah.
Yes, we can. Mhm.
Yeah, and can you see with your radar how far out can you see? Could you see the gliders operating over our airfield at Wormingford?
So this picture right here is scoped out. So each of these rings is 10 miles. So 10, 20, 30, 40. So this picture is 40 miles right now. We can scope out our radar all the way out to 100, but it's not the crystal clear picture that you would hope as far out as that is. But most of the time, this is what our general view is. We scope it out to about 40 to 60 miles.
Okay, that's helpful. And if we're flying around to the north of the CMATZ, so we're on the sort of towards the Norfolk coast, that sort of area.
Okay.
Who do you think we should be talking to? Would it be better to be talking to you guys, or would it be better to be talking to Mara?
Honestly, it'd probably be better to talk to Marham.
Okay, thanks for that. And any other questions in the room?
Is monitoring of ADSB totally routine? Is that the case, that it's routine and monitored most of the time, all the time?
Sorry, did you hear that, Bridget?
You're asking if we usually monitor ADSB?
If it's monitored routinely all the time.
Yes, yeah. So right now, this is a blank screen, but every time there's an ADSB in the area, it pops up as this bright green dot. So you might not be displaying like a squawk, you might not be displaying your altitude, but once we click on you, usually if you're displaying that, we can see what altitude you're giving out and everything like that. And then same thing with like if you're squawking, we can see whatever squawk that you put in. So it's just like a bright green star that pops up.
Okay, because there's quite a few gliders have got a device called a Sky Echo, which transmits an ADSB signal. And it also squawks 7,000 on the ADSB signal as well.
Okay, yeah. Also, when a particular busy day happens, I'll have to take a picture and I'll send it to you because we do. It is like, especially on very VFR days, you'll just see so many just green dots covering the screen. And I'm imagining it's probably gliders or civilian pilots just flying around because this is uncontrolled airspace, and obviously you don't have to talk to anybody to be flying through the area. So I'll have to take a picture and send it to you because there is a lot going on in the area.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be really helpful. And because on a busy soaring day, we know when we're out flying ourselves, we meet a lot of other gliders. There are literally dozens of gliders out there on a busy soaring day. There's another question is around, I don't know if you can see it, Bridget. There's a question on the chat popped up around if we'd like to penetrate the CMATZ, what distance from the zone would you like us to call?
So yeah, if you're trying to enter the CMATZ, I mean, obviously the earlier the better is always preferred, but at least 5 miles gives us time to coordinate with the tower right here, because they control these two little areas and we control this right here. So anytime anyone penetrates the CMATZ, we always call the towers, just because a lot of the times, if they do have a pattern going on, the aircraft may just be going out to these further out points that are right at the edge of the CMATZ, or this one is a point that they go to a lot. It's outside of the CMATZ.
Yeah, that's great. We also we had an issue here, an incident here which we would like to feed back. So we had a couple of F-15s that flew over our airfield. Was it four? At about 1,000 feet. And they flew right overhead our winch where we launch. So there can be cables in the air up to over 2,000 feet. Today we were launching at up to 2,400 feet. So there was a flight safety issue. I think Angus has got some more detail on that. Angus, I don't know if you would like to unmute yourself and. I think Angus, if you could just unmute yourself.
Okay, have you got me? Have you got me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. So it was. I mean, the particular instance was four F-15s at 1,000 feet, 400 knots, straight over the top of the airfield, with no NOTAMs, which they were transiting to a demonstration for the football at White Hart Lane about 2 months ago.
Ah, okay.
And it was just interesting because at that speed, the only NOTAM related to the actual point of their fly past, which was 1.5 nautical miles, but there was no indication of the route from Lakenheath, so we had no idea that they're not. And at that speed, at that height, I don't think we certainly wouldn't have seen the F-15s, and I don't imagine they would have seen us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's something that I could relay to flight safety. I obviously I don't coordinate with the aircraft very often. I usually go through flight safety for that. But that's something that I can bring up when we're doing demonstrations like that, or when they're doing their low levels. If there was any way to give a notice, obviously, or of course, if I'm not sure if they needed to be at that altitude, I couldn't say. So it's something that I can relay.
No, I mean, from our point of view, I mean, normally say if the red arrows are flying like that, they would issue a NOTAM which showed the route, which gave some indication of the route.
Yeah, I can relay that for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not. Hopefully they'll budge on that one. But I can definitely give them the information, and obviously that it was a flight safety issue because you could have been launching at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they were just able to move their flight path a couple of miles to the other side, to the east of us, then they wouldn't have been so much in conflict with our launch area.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
No, covered it.
That's great. So thank you so much, Bridget. I think that's all the questions we've got so far. But it's really good to make a contact with you, and we'd like to continue the relationship to maintain a flight safety liaison. It's really kind of you to spend time putting together your presentation, and we'd like to. I'll come to that. We'd like to invite you and any of your other colleagues to come and fly with us sometime, maybe next summer.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Thank you so much. And if anybody ever has any questions, please, you can direct them to me. And if I don't have the answer, I can find it for you. And then same to you. If you ever want to come over to RAF Lakenheath and see our approach facility, we can set up tours and everything like that. Just send me an email and I can get the wheels rolling on that.
Friendly.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Yeah, thank you. Super.
There's one more question.
Yeah, we just got a comment. There's a microlife pilot who routes. I don't know if you can see that on the chat, Bridget. And he just says he's always going to give us a call. He's always going to give you a call from now on.
Perfect. Yeah, I love hearing that. That's all we ask. Again, we'll give you general information. We need to know where you're at so that we can relay the information back and forth.
Great, super. Thank you
Can
very
I
much.
make a comment, Adrian?
With caution, Clive, yes?
Yes, with caution, yeah. I think given notice that we know that they're possibly going to overfly us at 400 knots at 1,000 feet, we'd be welcome to see you, but we need the notice so we're not in the air and we can stop our actions, our operations. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And again, I'll definitely relay if they're going to be doing things like that, especially low level, if there's any way that they can be pushing out the information.
Yeah. Okay.
Super, super. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bridget.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.